Rejection is one of the most misunderstood experiences in life. It carries a heavy emotional weight, often leaving people feeling unworthy, lost, or even broken. But what if rejection wasn't meant to break you? What if it was actually the very thing designed to shape you into the person you were always meant to be? When someone rejects you, whether in relationships, business, or any other aspect of life, it is easy to assume that something is wrong with you. You start questioning yourself, your worth, and everything you brought to the table. You replay conversations, moments, and decisions in your mind, wondering where you went wrong. But the truth is, rejection is never about your lack of value. It is about the other person's inability to recognize what you bring to the table. When you truly understand this, you will never let rejection define you again. Rejection is not a loss, it is redirection. It is the universe, life, or whatever force you believe in guiding you away from something or someone who is not meant to be part of your journey. It is a course correction, a shift that pushes you towards something far greater than what you thought you wanted. The problem is, most people do not see it that way. Instead of embracing rejection as an opportunity, they internalize it as a statement of their worth. They believe that because one person said no, it means they are not good enough. But that is simply not true. Think about all the times you have wanted something so badly, only to later realize that it was never truly aligned with who you were becoming. Maybe it was a relationship that you thought would last forever, only to see it crumble. Maybe it was a job opportunity you desperately chased, only to be turned down. In the moment, it feels like the world is closing in on you. But with time and perspective, you begin to see that what you thought was a rejection was actually protection. Life was moving you away from what was not meant for you. Rejection reveals something powerful. It shows you the truth. It removes the illusion, the fantasy, the idea you built up in your mind about a person or a situation. When someone rejects you, they are revealing where they truly stand. They are giving you a gift, the gift of clarity. Instead of seeing it as a loss, you must start seeing it as freedom. You are now free to pursue something that is truly aligned with you. You are free to elevate, to grow, and to evolve into someone who no longer settles for less than they deserve. But the problem is, most people do not allow rejection to fuel them. Instead, they let it break them. They start lowering their standards, begging for another chance, or trying to prove their worth to someone who has already made up their mind. And that is where the power is lost. Because the moment you chase after someone who rejected you, you are telling them, I don't believe in my own value. I need you to validate me. But here's the truth. You do not need their validation. The only validation you need is your own. When you believe in yourself, rejection does not shake you, it strengthens you. Every great person in history has faced rejection. The most successful people in the world, whether in business, entertainment, sports, or personal relationships, have all been told no at some point. They have been turned down, overlooked, and underestimated. But what separates them from the rest? Their response. Instead of letting rejection define them, they used it as fuel. They took that no and turned it into an opportunity. They redirected their focus, sharpened their skills, and came back stronger than ever. And eventually, the very people who once rejected them ended up regretting it. You must start seeing yourself in the same light. If someone rejects you, let them. If a door closes, walk away. Do not waste your energy trying to force something that is not meant for you. Because here is the reality. When you truly know your worth, rejection does not feel like an attack. It feels like a filter. It weeds out the people and situations that are not aligned with your destiny. It removes distractions and forces you to focus on yourself. It pushes you to elevate, to grow, and to become the person who no longer chases, but attracts. When you embrace rejection as redirection, you take back your power. You stop viewing it as a personal failure and start seeing it as divine intervention. You understand that every no is making space for a bigger yes. You no longer waste time trying to convince someone of your value because you already know it. You walk away with confidence, knowing that the best is yet to come. Every time you experience rejection, your mind instantly starts creating a story. You begin to fill in the blanks, wondering what went wrong, what you could have done differently, or why things didn't turn out the way you expected. This is a natural reaction because human beings crave clarity. We want to understand why something happened so that we can process it and move forward. But what if you didn't try to fill in the blanks? What if, instead of desperately seeking answers, you controlled the narrative yourself? When someone rejects you, they expect a certain reaction. They expect you to seek closure, to question their decision, to prove your worth, or to chase after them. This is because most people operate from a place of ego. They believe that by rejecting you, they have positioned themselves as someone of higher value. They assume that you will feel the need to win them back, to gain their approval, or to show them that they made a mistake. And this is where most people lose control. Instead of maintaining their power, they react emotionally. They send long messages seeking answers. They overanalyze every interaction, and they become consumed by the need to fix the situation. But the moment you do this, you have already lost. Because now they have successfully placed themselves in a position of control while you are left scrambling to regain a sense of stability. The secret to making someone question their decision after rejecting you is simple. You do not give them the reaction they expect. You do not validate their belief that they were the best option for you. Instead, you become a mystery. You become the unknown factor in their mind, the unanswered question that lingers long after they walk away. And nothing is more unsettling to the human mind than uncertainty. When you react emotionally to rejection, you give the other person a sense of closure. You confirm to them that they had an impact on you, that their decision mattered, and that they were significant enough to disrupt your world. But when you remain silent, when you walk away without explanation, without a single word, without trying to prove anything, that is when the power shifts. That is when they begin to question themselves. Because now, instead of feeling validated by your reaction, they are left wondering why you are unaffected. They start to second guess their choice. They start to wonder if they underestimated you. They start to feel the emptiness of your absence. The human mind hates uncertainty. It craves resolution. When someone rejects you, they assume they have figured you out. They believe they know exactly how you will respond. But when your response does not match their expectations, they become mentally trapped in their own assumptions. They start overthinking. They start replaying their decision in their mind, wondering if they made a mistake. They begin to wonder if they truly knew you at all. And the more they think, the more they start to realize that maybe, just maybe, they misjudged the situation entirely. This is why controlling the narrative is so powerful. Because by refusing to react, you force them to create their own story. You allow them to fill in the blanks, but in a way that works to your advantage. And here's what happens when someone is left to their own thoughts. They romanticize. They start remembering the best moments instead of the worst. They start idealizing you instead of seeing your flaws. They start feeling a sense of loss. Not because you are gone, but because they never got the reaction they expected. And that is what makes people question everything. Most people think that closure is something that needs to be verbalized. They believe that in order to move on, they need a final conversation, a last explanation, or an opportunity to be heard. But the truth is, the most powerful closure is silence. Silence forces people to confront their own thoughts. It makes them sit with their decision and experience the full weight of it. Because as long as you are reacting, as long as you are explaining yourself, you are still giving them access to you. But the moment you go silent, the moment you disappear completely, they no longer have that access. And that is when regret starts creeping in. The moment you stop trying to prove your worth is the moment they start questioning theirs. They begin to wonder why you did not react. They start asking themselves if they truly meant as much to you as they thought they did. They start looking for signs that you were affected, checking your social media, asking mutual friends about you, and secretly hoping for a sign that you still care. And when they find nothing, when they realize that you have moved forward without hesitation, that is when the reality of their decision truly sinks in. People only question their choices when they are faced with the unknown. When they reject you, they expect to see pain, sadness, and desperation. They expect to feel reassured in their decision. But when you do the opposite, when you remain calm, collected, and seemingly unbothered, that is when the doubt sets in. That is when they start wondering if they made the right choice. And the more they wonder, the more they realize that they never truly knew your worth to begin with. The human mind is wired to seek significance. People want to feel important, desired, and irreplaceable. When someone rejects you, they assume that they hold the power, that their decision determines your emotional state. They believe that by walking away, they are positioning themselves as the prize, as the person with the upper hand. But what happens when you disrupt that belief? What happens when, instead of breaking down or chasing after them, you show them that their absence does not affect you the way they assumed it would? That is when the real shift happens. That is when they begin to question everything. The moment someone believes they have power over you, they act with a sense of certainty. They feel secure in their decision, convinced that you will be affected by their rejection. They expect to see signs of struggle, emotional distress, or a desire to win them back. They expect you to seek their validation, to prove your worth, or to convince them that they made a mistake. And this is where most people fall into the trap. Because instead of maintaining their composure, they react exactly how the other person expected. They send messages trying to get closure. They reach out through mutual friends. They overanalyze every detail, hoping to find a way to change the outcome. But in doing so, they unknowingly reinforce the very belief that the other person has power over them. The secret to reversing this dynamic is simple. You show them that they do not hold the power they think they do. You disrupt their sense of certainty by demonstrating that their rejection did not shake you. And the most powerful way to do this, elevation. You elevate your life in every possible way. You shift your focus from seeking validation to becoming the best version of yourself. You invest in your growth, your confidence, and your future. You show them, without words, without begging, without any desperate attempts, that your life is not dependent on their presence. And when they see this, when they realize that you are not broken, but thriving, that is when they begin to question everything. People expect you to shrink after rejection. They expect you to lose confidence, to become hesitant, to move through life with uncertainty. But when you do the opposite, when you step into your power and elevate yourself, suddenly they are forced to see you in a new light. They start noticing the changes, the newfound confidence, the way you carry yourself with certainty. And that is when doubt begins to creep in. That is when they start wondering if they made a mistake. Because the version of you that they rejected is not the same version of you that is now standing tall, unbothered, and in complete control. This is why growth is the most powerful form of response. When you elevate your life, you shift the focus from them to yourself. You stop chasing and start attracting. You begin to radiate a different energy, an energy that is magnetic, undeniable, and impossible to ignore. And here's the interesting thing about human psychology. People are drawn to what they cannot have. The moment they sense that you have moved beyond them, that you are no longer seeking their approval, their curiosity ignites. They begin to watch you from a distance, trying to figure out how you transformed so effortlessly. They start wondering if they ever truly knew your worth. They start regretting their decision, not because they suddenly value you more, but because they no longer have access to the version of you they once rejected. This is why confidence is key. Confidence is not about pretending to be unaffected. It is not about putting on a show for social media or faking happiness to make them jealous. True confidence comes from within. It is the result of deep self-awareness, of understanding your value, and of realizing that no one's rejection can define you. When you carry yourself with this level of certainty, people take notice. They begin to feel the absence of your neediness, your validation-seeking behaviors, your emotional dependence. And in that absence, they start questioning themselves. But here's where most people go wrong. They elevate for the wrong reasons. They start working on themselves not for their own growth, but as a way to make the other person notice. They post on social media hoping their ex will see it. They make changes in their life with the underlying intention of proving a point. But real elevation does not come from a place of proving. It comes from a place of self-mastery. You grow because you deserve it, because you owe it to yourself to become the highest version of who you are meant to be. And when you move with this mindset, everything changes, because now your energy is different. You are no longer operating from a place of lack, but from a place of abundance. You are no longer trying to convince someone to see your worth. You are simply embodying it. And that is the moment they begin to regret. Because nothing is more powerful than watching someone become the best version of themselves and realizing that you no longer have access to them. People do not regret losing someone who begs for them back. They regret losing someone who rises so high that they can no longer reach them. They regret losing someone who refuses to be broken by rejection and instead uses it as a stepping stone to something greater. And this is where the power lies, not in trying to change their mind, but in showing them through your actions that their rejection was never the end of your story. It was simply the beginning of a new chapter, one that they will eventually wish they were still part of. The mind is naturally drawn to what it cannot fully understand. When someone rejects you, they assume they have you figured out. They believe they know exactly how you will react, how you will process the rejection, and how you will move forward. This assumption gives them a sense of control, a belief that they hold power over the situation. But when you introduce mystery, when you become unpredictable, when you do not respond the way they expect, suddenly they are no longer sure of anything. And that uncertainty, that lack of clarity is what makes them start questioning everything. People assume that after rejection, there will be a clear and linear process. They expect you to show signs of sadness, to withdraw, to reach out for closure, or to make one final attempt to gain their approval. They are prepared for the usual responses: begging, pleading, trying to prove your worth, or even showing anger. But what happens when none of that comes? What happens when instead of reacting emotionally, you remain completely unreadable? That is when the tables turn. That is when they start to feel an unfamiliar sense of discomfort, because suddenly they are the ones left wondering. Human beings are naturally wired to seek closure. The mind does not like unfinished stories. And when someone makes a decision, they expect confirmation that their choice was the right one. When you react predictably, they receive that confirmation. If you beg for another chance, it reassures them that rejecting you was the right move. If you show signs of being upset, it gives them the emotional validation they were seeking. If you try to make them jealous, they see through it, and it reinforces their belief that you are still emotionally attached. But when you remain a mystery, when you give them nothing to work with, that is when their confidence in their decision starts to shake. The most powerful way to make someone question their decision is not through words, not through explanations, not through attempts to prove your worth. It is through unpredictability. It is through becoming a question mark in their mind instead of a closed chapter. And this is where most people struggle. Because the natural instinct after rejection is to seek clarity, to express emotions, to show the other person what they have lost. But real power comes from doing the opposite. It comes from leaving them in a state of uncertainty where they cannot fully understand your next move. When you step back from the situation and refuse to react in a predictable way, the person who rejected you starts to notice the gap. At first, they may feel confident in their decision, believing they have full control. But over time, as they realize they do not have access to your emotions, as they see you moving in ways they did not expect, their certainty begins to fade. They start to overthink. They start to question. They start to wonder if they truly understood who you were in the first place. And the more they wonder, the more they start to miss the sense of certainty they once had. Mystery is not about playing games. It is not about intentionally ignoring someone or trying to manipulate them into feeling regret. It is about self-control. It is about mastering your own emotions so deeply that you do not need to explain yourself to anyone. It is about maintaining a presence that is felt even in your absence. When someone rejects you, they assume that you will fade into the background, that your importance in their life will slowly diminish. But when you become unpredictable, when they cannot fully grasp what is happening with you, your presence lingers in their mind in ways they never expected. One of the most effective ways to create this sense of mystery is by making subtle but significant changes in your life. People are creatures of habit. They expect things to remain the same. When you start shifting your energy, improving yourself, changing your routine, and evolving in ways they did not anticipate, it disrupts their perception of you. They start noticing the differences. They start paying attention. And before they even realize it, they are investing mental energy in trying to understand you again. This is why disappearing from their predictable world is so powerful. When you are no longer easily accessible, when your presence is no longer something they can take for granted, it creates an imbalance in their mind. They begin to wonder where you are, what you are doing, and why you are not reacting the way they expected. And the longer they go without answers, the more their curiosity grows. What once felt like a final decision now starts to feel like an open-ended question. And that question lingers in their mind, making them wonder if they truly made the right choice. Most people underestimate the power of silence and unpredictability. They believe that the best way to make someone regret rejecting them is by proving something outwardly, by showing success, by flaunting their achievements, or by making them jealous. But true impact happens on a much deeper level. It happens when you remove yourself as an emotional option, when you stop being predictable, when you become someone they can no longer define with certainty. That is when you take back control. That is when they start looking for answers. And the more they search, the more they begin to realize that the person they thought they rejected no longer exists in the way they imagined. Rejection has a way of making people feel powerless, as if their worth is determined by another person's decision. But what if the real power lies in how you choose to respond? What if instead of seeing rejection as a loss, you use it as an opportunity to take control of your own narrative? The way you carry yourself after rejection speaks louder than anything else. It is in this moment that you have the ability to shift the energy, to redefine the situation, and to reclaim your personal power in a way that forces the other person to see you in an entirely new light. When someone rejects you, they assume they are making the final decision. They believe they have determined the course of the relationship, the connection, the situation. But in reality, rejection is not the end. It is a redirection. It is not about what they decided. It is about what you choose to do next. This is where most people get it wrong. They see rejection as a dead end, as proof that they were not enough, as a reason to feel defeated. But in truth, rejection is an opportunity to turn the tables, to step into a stronger version of yourself, and to create a reality that forces them to question everything. When you take control of your energy, you no longer react to rejection with desperation, sadness, or self-doubt. You do not beg for another chance. You do not ask for an explanation. You do not seek their validation. Instead, you shift your focus inward. You begin to operate from a position of strength, not weakness. And when you do this, the entire dynamic changes. Suddenly, they are no longer the one making the decisions. You are. The most powerful thing you can do after rejection is to elevate yourself in such a way that they can no longer recognize the version of you they once knew. You become so focused on your own growth, your own goals, your own self-improvement that their rejection becomes insignificant. And when this happens, they start to notice. They start to wonder what changed, why you are not reacting the way they expected, why you seem unaffected by their decision. This is when doubt creeps into their mind. Because if someone truly did not care about losing you, why would they suddenly be paying attention? Why would they suddenly feel the need to check on you, to see what you are up to understand what has shifted? Energy is everything. People can feel when you are still holding on, even if you do not say a word. They can sense when you are still emotionally attached, still waiting for them to reconsider, still hoping they will come back. But when you truly take control of your energy, when you genuinely let go of the need for their validation, something shifts. They can no longer feel that attachment. They can no longer assume that you are waiting. And that is when their confidence in their decision starts to waver. Taking control of your energy does not mean pretending to be okay. It does not mean putting on a show or trying to manipulate their emotions. It means truly doing the inner work, becoming so solid in your sense of self-worth that their rejection no longer defines you. It means focusing on yourself so deeply that their presence or their absence no longer dictates your happiness. And when you move with this kind of certainty, it is felt on a level that words cannot express. One of the most important aspects of reclaiming your energy is learning to detach. Detachment is not about being cold or indifferent. It is about understanding that your value does not come from external validation. It is about knowing that no one has the power to determine your worth except you. When you fully embrace this mindset, you stop reacting to rejection as a personal failure. Instead, you see it as a natural part of life, something that does not take away from your value, but rather redirects you towards something greater. The irony is that the moment you truly detach, the moment you stop seeking their attention, is often the moment they begin to seek yours, because nothing is more powerful than someone who is completely in control of their own energy. Someone who does not need validation, someone who does not chase, someone who does not depend on another person to feel whole. This is the kind of energy that draws people in, that makes them question their choices, that forces them to see you in a way they never did before. Another key aspect of taking control of your energy is shifting your focus from external validation to internal fulfillment. Instead of trying to prove something to the person who rejected you, you start proving things to yourself. You invest in your personal growth, in your passions, in your well-being. You build a life that excites you, that fulfills you, that makes you genuinely happy. And in doing so, you create a reality where their rejection no longer has power over you. People often regret losing someone not because of what that person says or does after rejection, but because of who they become. When they see you thriving, when they see you radiating confidence, when they see that their decision did not break you, but instead made you stronger, that is when they begin to question themselves. They begin to wonder if they underestimated you, if they misjudged your value, if they made a mistake in letting you go. But by the time they realize this, the version of you they once knew no longer exists. because you have elevated beyond the need for their approval. This is why taking control of your energy is the most powerful response to rejection. It is not about revenge. It is not about making them jealous. It is not about proving a point. It is about stepping into your power so completely that their decision no longer defines you. It is about recognizing that you are the one who ultimately determines the course of your own life. And when you move with this level of self-assurance, everything changes. Regret is a powerful force, and nothing triggers it more than the realization that someone they once overlooked has become someone they can no longer reach. When someone rejects you, they do so with the assumption that they have made the right decision, that their choice will not have any consequences for them. They expect you to react in ways that confirm their decision, whether it's through sadness, desperation, or visible disappointment. But when you completely remove yourself from their world, when you detach, grow, and elevate beyond what they ever imagined, it forces them to see you through a different lens. They begin to realize that their decision was not as final as they once thought. Regret does not happen overnight. It creeps in slowly, in moments of reflection, in unexpected flashes of memory, in the quiet realization that they may have let go of something valuable. At first, they may feel a sense of relief, believing they have made the right choice. They assume they will move on effortlessly, that their decision was final, that they will not give it a second thought. But over time, as they start to notice the absence of your energy, as they see you thriving in ways they did not anticipate, their mind starts to wander. They start questioning their choices. And the more they wonder about you, the deeper their regret begins to set in. The key to making someone regret rejecting you is not through chasing, begging, or seeking their approval. It is through complete and total absence. It is through creating a reality so fulfilling, so exciting, so undeniably powerful that they can no longer recognize the version of you they once knew. This is where most people struggle, because after rejection, the natural tendency is to seek validation, to prove something, to remind the other person of what they lost. But real power comes from doing the opposite. It comes from giving them nothing, not your attention, not your energy, not even the slightest indication that their decision affected you. When you remove yourself from their life entirely, you create a vacuum. People do not realize what they have until it is no longer there. As long as you are still somewhat present, whether it is through mutual friends, social media, or occasional contact, they feel a sense of security. They believe that even though they rejected you, you are still an option. But when you completely disappear, when they can no longer access you, when they are forced to wonder where you are, what you are doing, and who you have become, that is when regret begins to take hold. Regret is amplified when they start to see undeniable proof that you are better without them. When they see you glowing, growing, and thriving in ways they never expected, it creates a sharp contrast between the past and the present. If they rejected you believing that they were choosing something better, they now have to face the uncomfortable reality that they may have underestimated you. They may have assumed that their presence in your life was more significant than it actually was. And when they see that you did not just survive their rejection, but flourished because of it, their mind begins to shift. One of the most effective ways to trigger regret is through unexpected transformation. People assume they know you, that they have you figured out, that their rejection will leave you unchanged. But when they see you evolving, when they see you stepping into a version of yourself that they never anticipated, it forces them to question everything. It makes them wonder if they ever truly knew you at all. And this uncertainty is what keeps you in their mind. They start replaying the past, trying to understand where they went wrong, trying to reconcile the image they once had of you with the reality they are now seeing. Social proof plays a significant role in deepening their regret. When they see that other people are noticing you, valuing you, and appreciating what they once overlooked, it reinforces the idea that they made a mistake. If they once believed that they were the best option for you, seeing someone else cherish you in ways they never did can be a hard pill to swallow. The realization that they were blind to something others now admire is a direct hit to their ego. And the more they see you being celebrated, the harder it becomes for them to ignore the feeling that they let something irreplaceable slip away. Another factor that intensifies regret is time. In the immediate aftermath of rejection, they may feel certain about their choice. But as weeks and months pass, as they encounter new experiences and relationships, they begin to compare. They start to realize that what they once had with you was not as replaceable as they thought. They begin to recognize your uniqueness, your presence, your energy. And when they come to this realization, they often want to reach out. But by then, the dynamics have changed because you are no longer where they left you. You have grown past them, evolved beyond them, and become someone they can no longer access so easily. This is the ultimate form of regret. Not just the realization that they may have made the wrong choice, but the painful understanding that they no longer have the power to fix it. They rejected you when they had the chance, assuming they could move on without consequence. But now they see you as someone beyond their reach. And the more they feel that distance, the stronger their regret becomes. They may try to reconnect, to test the waters, to see if they still have a place in your life. But the truth is, by the time they feel the full weight of their regret, you will have already moved on to a new chapter. One where they are no longer needed.